Hello and welcome. My name is Kimberly Grymes, and I am a self-published author. And this is From Ideas to Pages to Publishing, a podcast where I focus on quick, informative episodes for both readers and writers. Mainly it's me giving an update on my writing projects, followed by one or two recent author experiences. And I'm not holding back either, so the author experiences I share will include the good, the bad, the wins, and those moments when I'm screaming at my laptop. It's all part of the growing process to become the best author I can be, and hopefully my experiences can help others. I'm also excited to be including guest chats in future episodes. Before I jump in and give you a quick writing update, I want to remind listeners that From Ideas to Pages to Publishing has a writing support group on Patreon. We meet once a month to cheer each other on as we work to reach our writing and author business goals. So if you're interested in a writing group focused on project accountability and motivation to keep moving forward on your writing and author business goals, then check out From Ideas to Pages to Publishing, the Patreon group. And podcast episodes are released a week early to the Patreon members. All right, welcome to episode 16. This week, I'm going to be talking about the 5 things to know about starting your own podcast. But first, let me give you a quick project update. Book 3 in my YA Dark Fantasy 3 Shades trilogy, titled Shades and Blood Oaths. I have Book 3 manuscript back from the line editor, and I'm so excited. This is my favorite part about the writing and publishing process, the final stages of molding the finished book. It's so satisfying to me to see the scenes written out as readers will read after all the months of drafting, doing 5 million self-edits, going through beta readers and line editors. It's this stage when I get the manuscript back from the line editor that excites me the most. Now, the manuscript is scheduled to go off to the proofreader on August 4th, which is less than a month away. So that's another thing I'm really excited for. Usually I only have a week or less because I schedule things way too closely. But this time I gave myself plenty of time between getting line edits back and sending to the proofreader. I highly recommend giving yourself at least 3 to 4 weeks minimum to apply those line edits before sending it off to the proofreader. Not only to apply edits, but also because I usually like to listen to the whole book. Yes, listen. I use the read aloud feature in Microsoft Word. This helps me catch any spelling mistakes or, the story flow one last time. I should note that I also listen to my story while doing self-edits before I send to the line editor, like while I'm drafting the story. It's kind of become part of my process. Okay, moving on. The Kickstarter. Today is July 11th, which means we are 68 days away from the campaign launching. That also means we're creeping up on the 2-month mark. I'm not really nervous, but excited. It's a combination, nervous-sighted. I think it's because I'm so busy. I just haven't had time to digest that we're coming closer to the launch date. But other than that, there's really nothing big to update you for the Kickstarter. I'm really close to reaching 100 followers on the pre-launch campaign page. And if you recall, my goal is to reach 150 people to follow by the launch date of September 18th. Jumping into my next work in progress, the Prairie Land Romantasy. I had a bit of a setback with this story, mainly because after writing chapters 3 through 7, the chapter summaries, I realized my main character's lie she believed, or the thing she thought would make her happy, fell flat. So she basically realized that what she thought would make her happy isn't going to make her happy, and that came at chapter 7, so way too early. I needed something she can hold on to and believe until it's actually time for her to realize that's not what's going to make her happy. So yeah, I had to reevaluate her internal conflict and that lie she believes. And I did. I rewrote the first 2 chapters with a new internal conflict that I really feel like will hold until it's time for her to realize, oh, this isn't going to make me happy. So unfortunately, because of this little setback, I did have to push back my next book coach meeting with Connolly a few weeks. So that is the update for the Prairieland Romantasy. Okay, jumping into the Secret Author Collab project, I wasn't able to add my outline to the plotter software like I had intended to, so I've extended that goal to be finished by the end of July. I did, however, rewrite Chapter 1. Surprise there, I tend to rewrite Chapter 1 a lot, but I felt it was kind of boring, so I wanted it to be a little bit more thrilling. I'm really happy with this new Chapter 1, and I've already written Chapter 2, and I'm very, very happy with the direction it's going. So I feel like this is it. I can go forward with writing this story now. It usually takes me a while to get this feeling that I get when I write a Chapter 1, and I usually end up rewriting Chapter 1 over and over again until I get this feeling. So I'm really excited. I've got this feeling. I can move on. The story's solid. My goal for this work in progress, the Secret Author Collab Romantasy story, is to have at least 4 solid chapters written by the end of July. And then for next month, August, I'll bump up my expectations for chapters completed to maybe like 10 or 12. I have to have a full first draft manuscript completed by end of October. Okay, that's all for my writing project updates. Now, let's jump into this week's author experience topic, which is more about tips. I wanted to share some tips with you guys. 5 things to know about starting your own podcast. So, I thought it would be a good idea to share my experiences with creating and hosting a podcast, just in case anybody out there was considering starting one. First, I thought I should say this isn't my first rodeo, so just to throw that out there. This is actually my second time hosting a podcast. The first one was a few years ago, and it was a group of people that consisted of authors and readers. It was a really fun group. We had so much fun. But when you do a podcast with other people, you tend to run the risk at some point of having someone not be able to continue. And it's totally normal, and it happens. Life happens. And that's exactly what happened. And so we took a break, and it just kind of never really picked up, which is fine because it was an experience. And that's what we're here to learn from. We do things, we try things, we grow from our experiences. And after a year of taking a break, I had decided to try again, but a very low key and not something I aim to really promote. The podcast was more about me documenting my writing and author experiences so that I had something to listen back on years down the road. So it was kind of more like a blog or a vlog or a plog. Anyway, I started this podcast during the summer of 2024, from ideas to pages to publishing. I did 6 or 7 episodes, playing around with different ways to record, distribute, and how to manage my time needed to keep releasing episodes every week. And it turned out to be a lot of work, and it wasn't as easy as record, upload, and done. I am by no means an expert on audio equipment, software, or anything having to do with producing a professional show. I do, however, have this problem where I enjoy self-teaching myself things. Like when my husband bought a 3D printer, I taught myself the basics of the Blender software in order to create 3D printed bookmarks. So all of my information that I'm sharing with you is self-taught and, well, let's call it amateur hour production. But what I end up getting is what I need to put out there for podcast episodes. Okay, let's jump into it. Here are my top 5 things to know before starting a podcast. 1, be prepared to set aside a lot of time. Side note, a lot of this advice also goes for people who want to start a YouTube channel, except with YouTube, there's the video side of producing the show. Okay, be prepared to set aside a lot of time. I'm going to just really quickly go over kind of my week when I plan out my podcast tasks. Wednesday nights, I write out the script, which usually takes me an hour. Thursday mornings, I'll set up the microphone at my desk. I'll talk more about the microphone in a minute. and then record. Reading from a script makes recording time go much faster, mostly because I tend to babble or lose my train of thought. So having that script is key. Recording usually takes me 45 minutes to an hour because, remember, I aim to keep the episodes short and informative, like between 10 and 20 minutes. I also like to record early in the morning before my kids wake up because my office is in a den and there are no doors, so you can hear everything. Then, depending on what's going on, after I've recorded, I may start the editing process or do it later in the day. Remember, this is still Thursday, and I like to post the episodes on Fridays. I use Audacity to record and edit the episodes. I have used other methods in the past, Adobe Premiere Elements and CapCut, but only because I was using an alternative way to record my episodes. Again, I'll talk about the microphone in a minute. I highly recommend using Audacity. It's a free software program you can download to your PC. This is not an affiliate plug or anything. Again, this is my personal experience. It may look overwhelming when you first open the Audacity program, but it's really user-friendly once you play around and get familiar with the command keys and features. It's so easy to record, edit, and download the files all from one spot, rather than record, download the audio, upload the audio, edit the audio. Such a hassle. Audacity has removed all of that hassle, which is also a time saver. So for me, the editing process takes about 2 hours because I tend to make a lot of mistakes when I record, and I like to tighten everything up because I tend to leave large gaps between sections or sentences. Plus, I also like to quiet or reduce the sound during those loud inhales of breath that sometimes pop up. Once the audio is edited, I re-listen to the whole episode, writing down timestamps while proofing the episode. This takes about 20 to 30 minutes. Then, on Friday mornings, I'll start the upload process to my platforms. This process can take up to an hour, but now that I've added uploading episodes to YouTube, it may take more like 1 hour to an hour and a half. It does help that I have a template for each show notes / captions for each platform, which is the Patreon, Substack, and now YouTube. So that Friday, I immediately share on Patreon and then schedule the episodes to release 1 week later on Substack and YouTube. Since Substack is my podcast hosting platform, they share the episodes to the other listening outlets like Spotify. For YouTube, I don't record any video because that would add a lot more time to this whole process. I use a thumbnail image as a video placeholder, and all I have to do for each thumbnail image is update the episode number and the episode title. And listening to podcasts on YouTube is so great because if you're home cleaning your house or cooking or working out or whatever else, you can listen to the episodes in the background on YouTube. Also, I haven't decided if the guest interviews will be audio only or include video. I am leaning toward audio only. I just don't know if I have the capacity to add video into my weekly schedule. And then last, because we're not done yet, you have to market the podcast episode. I've also created a template to use in CapCut. So Substack is great to kind of create marketing material to share already. And so I just use those images into CapCut and then add some personal touches before sharing or scheduling to social media. I schedule all my marketing posts in Metricool or directly in YouTube Studio. Okay, I know we're still on the tip number 1, but real quick, I want to recap the time frame. 1 hour to write the script Wednesday night, 1 hour to record early Thursday morning, 2 hours to edit either Thursday or Friday, 30 minutes to proof and write down the timestamps, usually after I finished editing, 1 to 2 hours to upload, add captions, post or schedule to all 3 platforms, Patreon, Substack, and YouTube. Then last, about 30 minutes to an hour to create and schedule marketing posts to promote the episode. Total time is about 6 to 7 hours per week to release 1 episode per week. And I've really trimmed that time down from what it was last summer. Okay, so be prepared to set aside a good chunk of time each week if you plan on releasing an episode once a week. Let's move on to number 2. I already mentioned the recording software, Audacity, but I've also learned that investing in a good microphone helps keep your podcasting sounding professional. Okay, let's backtrack just a little. I have used a budget-friendly microphone in the past that picked up everything. I mean, the cars and trucks driving by my house, the dogs barking in the house. It picked up everything. Then last summer, when I started this podcast, for a few of the first episodes, I recorded in my car using my phone. So there's an app where you can record your voice. It sounded decent, and I even recommended it in one of the episodes. The problem with recording in your car using your phone is you have to download all the audio files off your phone to the cloud, then upload them onto your computer and then into a program like CapCut or other podcast software, but I really haven't tried too many. I usually like to keep things as free as possible. In addition to all that downloading and uploading and downloading and uploading again, it gets really hot in the car, in the garage during the summer months out here in Kansas. So when school started, I had the house to myself again, and I tried recording at my desk again. But remember, that microphone I had, well, it sucked. So I ended up taking a break from recording and posting episodes, mainly because I was releasing book 2 in my trilogy and I was working on all these other writing projects, and I was really frustrated with just how the whole process of the podcast was working out. It was taking too much time. I wasn't getting enough time to write on my projects. Anywho, during the Black Friday weekend shopping extravaganza, I splurged and bought a reputable microphone, a Blue Yeti. It's taken me some time to get used to, and I think I finally figured out the settings where the recordings sound good, and it doesn't pick up all the sounds of cars or trucks driving by my house. It's a fantastic microphone for the job I need it for. Okay, moving on. Number 3, a quiet space. This one might be hard if you've got a house full of people or pets. And yes, if you do have a room that absorbs sound, like your bedroom closet or a closed off room, then try recording there. You don't have to invest in foam padding or a soundproof room unless your podcast gets super popular. Then maybe throw some money into elevating your production. But like I said, I invested in a good microphone and record when it's quiet. And remember, my office doesn't have doors, just a little den area, and the recordings sound decent enough in my opinion. A quiet, relaxing space will help you feel more comfortable recording your episodes. You won't be stressed or preoccupied with whatever's going on around you. Number 4, have patience and do your research. You'll need to take the time to learn how to use the recording software and equipment. Do your research when it comes to hosting platforms too. There are a ton of podcast platforms available for you to choose from. Check out the pricing, the hour capacity, and what audio platforms they'll share to, like iTunes or Spotify, etc. I use Substack because it's free, and they share it with outside platforms like Spotify. In addition to doing research, you want to plan out to see when you'll be able to write your script, record, edit, post, do all that stuff we talked about in the number 1 tip. Also, plan out your content for, say, the first 4 or 5 episodes and what theme you'll focus on. So my theme is writing and project updates, plus sharing a recent author experience. So when I start having guests on the show, we'll focus on their project goals and an experience, whether it be recent or something that's impacted their journey. But that's my theme. And if you listen to other podcasts, whether it be writing or whatever, they always have a theme and they want to stick to that theme because you don't want to disappoint your listeners or confuse them. And that brings us to the last thing, number 5. Try and go into this knowing that it's a marathon, not a sprint. It's going to take time to build an audience, get used to the recordings and producing, and determine if hosting a podcast is even worth your time. Try thinking more about why you're doing this. Are you looking to grow your readership? Are you wanting to support other indie authors through interviews? Are you wanting to document your author journey and share with others like me? Or maybe you just want to talk with people in your field, like Coffee Talk, a way to recharge your social battery. Whatever the reason is, hold on to that goal and have fun with the podcast. There's so many podcasts and YouTube channels that start and they're good, but they don't last. They don't hang in there. So give it a good try and see if you'll be one of the ones that make it. I know I'm trying. I hope my tips and experiences have either inspired you or proved some kind of insightful realization to what goes into hosting a weekly podcast. It's a lot of work, but something I think I'll be happy to have to listen back on when I'm old and gray. My kids too. That's all for episode 16. I'll be back next week with more updates and more experiences to share. Until next time, thank you for listening to From Ideas to Pages to Publishing with me, Kimberly Grymes. For more information about me, my books, and my author shop, visit kimberlygrymes.com/links.